yet another video in a series of videos that I've been making around the development of an app that is related to a game that's a very popular game that's called Rock, Paper, and Scissors. So, in part two and three of this video series, you can look it up. I extensively discussed what the game is all about and all of the rules around the game, more or less the game logic. But in this particular video, I'm actually going to be focusing on an aspect of MVC, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But before I proceed, I just wanted to point out that most of the content in this video is based on material from the Developing Swift Exploration course provided by Apple as part of their iOS app development course. The book is currently available on Apple Store at no charge. I think that will be that, and I am going to go talk about MVC. So, MVC is a design pattern, and I had hinted in the previous videos that we would use MVC to develop this particular app, and it's literally like a set of architectural, what we call app architecture, which literally lays out specific plans so that you're developing your app with some kind level of organization and planning, right? Where things are set up in different parts, and each of those parts has specific responsibility and what they do exactly. So, for example, the model literally handles everything around data and data logic. So, the model is literally like the application's dynamic data structure, right? It manages data, the data logic, and all the rules of the application. The user interface, the view component, right? Is literally almost like your front end. The graphical user interface, everything the user sees and interacts with is everything that is captured within View. So View literally provides some kind of visualization of all of the data from the other part, which is like the model. And then finally, we have controller. Controller is literally like the runner, right? That picks up information or messages from the model, sends those messages to View. So it's like a middleman or an interface between model and View. So that's where I'm gonna stop with that. So in that would be part 3, I focused on the model components, right? And I'm going to show you a bit of what we did in the model component in the previous video. But right now, I'm proceeding to go focus on the view component, which is developing the user interface of the app. So we're focusing on the view component, and I already discussed a little bit what the view is about. But essentially, everything that the user sees, interacts with, is all about View. Something to point out, View objects are generally reusable. You can actually reuse them, and they are fairly consistent, and that's why you see a lot of, say, Apple apps. Their interface is about the same thing, because you have all of this content available from Apple Design. And then the other thing to point out is that View is not responsible for storing the data, right? All it does is just display the data. You have more of a storage and management function within the model component. Once that is done, the data is pushed to the controller. Controller does some optimization of that data and then pushes that data to View, and all View actually does is display that data. So that's essentially what the View is all about. So we're gonna go ahead to go work on View, and before we start that, I'll just show us what we did with model. So we created this project, and then we created two Swift files, right? One of them is sign, which is the three signs that I showed us previously: the rock, paper, and scissors. So which was a way of modeling those three constants, right? So that's what we did, and we did that with an enum. This function here, all it does eventually, sorry, let me go here. First of all, this file, game states, all it does is actually also enumerate the 4 known states. At any one time, the app is either going to be in a start mode, or one of the parties has won or lost, or a draw has occurred. So those are all the 4 possible states. To be able to capture all of these states, right, we decided to use an enum. So what's happening here is, in this function is we are looking at when the game is on, 2 of the players would decide on a sign, right? Player A would come up with a sign, player B will come up with a sign. And then what we are doing here is to be able to match those signs and to decide whether the player, which is self in this case, playing against an opponent, has drawn, lost, or won. So that's essentially what this part of the app does. So everything between sign and game states is literally around the model. So it's the data logic, everything around the data. So we've created models of everything. And so the next thing we want to do right now is to go to main, and that's where we begin to create the user interface. After creating the user interface, the next part, which will be, I think, part 5, will be where we now build the controller components, which will tie the main and the viewer components together. And that's essentially you finally have an app. So I'm going to start here by beginning to build the user interface. Remember, we clicked the main.storyboard. That's what we have here, and that's how we have our storyboard. So we're going to start by creating 3 buttons, right, that would represent our signs. So graphical representation of those signs. And how we do that is we go to Objects, Library, this plus here, open it up. You can type in button here, but we already have button here. So you drag it and place it vertically and horizontally somewhere there, right? Next thing you want to do is, there's no font name here, so I'm going to try to create one. It's a custom font, let's say system. We've created some kind of font, right? It's very small, so how about we okay, I'll just open it, click here, and then let's give it a size, because that thing is really very small. We make it 70 and done, boom. And then that's a whole lot. 70. Okay, we can actually go down a little bit. Yeah, so you can just choose whatever size you think you might need, but 70 might be something to go with, and you can always adjust what you have. So next thing we want to do is put in an emoji right here, right? And highlight this, control command space, and then you just choose one of these hand gestures or your signs. Let's say we choose this, right? I can come back here and try for this again. Let's still go back and do 70, because that's, I think, the ideal size we're looking for. Yeah, so we have that now. So 70. Next thing you want to do is you click and Option, click and drag, and look at the guidelines. Just use the guidelines to be able to guide yourself, and you can place that here, and you can repeat the same thing, right? So essentially what we are doing is duplicating the buttons so that we can create buttons for the other sides. So we have rock, we have paper, and we have scissors, right? So that's what we are doing. So, and essentially what I did was highlight the first sign, and plus option, and then it creates some kind of duplicate, and then you drag, and then you actually use your safe area margins to help guide you. You can repeat that for the one on the side. Options, drag, yep, yeah. So let me see. Watch the save. I want it to get to, oops, sorry about that. I think I have delete, option, drag. I'm gonna just drag it. So we have 3 of those. So next thing we want to do is update each of the labels, right? We're going to update each of the labels. So we have, first of all, the rock, which is the closed fist, but paper will be the second thing, right? Which is a raised hand. So just click in here, and I think we do Control Command Space. Sorry. You come click in here. You can actually move this, highlight that, click in here, and then Command Control Space, and that's where you get to choose your raised hand. I think this would be our raised hand. Yep. And then that changes. You do the same thing here. Go here, and you go ahead and do the same thing that we just did right now, which is Control Command Space, and then you choose your victory sign. I think that would be this. Yep. Boom. And then you have it. There you have it. So now you've created 3 of this, and the area that we were clicking here is what you call the default title area, right? That's where you click, and then you can do all of that. So having done that, we've created the three signs that we're looking for. The next thing we want to do right now is to introduce a button at the bottom, right? And I'm going to show you which is the button where we are going to click if we want to play a second time. After you've played, you want to play again, reset and play again, you can do that. So we go back to our object library, and then drag your button, and then let's say we just keep it somewhere here. Yeah. So once you have that, we can go back to our attributes in Inspector here on the right, and change the title. What do we call it now? Play again. Play again. Yeah. So we have that title, play again. But then we also want to change the fonts. Let me see what font we can go with. Let's go with title 1. So we have that set also. So what else? Now we want to create some kind of label, right, to represent the computer's turn, right? And that would be somewhere up here. So let's create a label. We drag the label. let's say we have that label here, and can we drag, let's create the label, sorry. So we're creating a label. So essentially what the label does is that it tells the player what is happening in the game. So our goal is to extend it so it can go all the way to this end, and then all the way to this end. Yep. So once we've extended the width to cover like the screen, and notice we use the save area as a guide, right? We can now centralize it. You come to this area, and then you centralize. Now that you've centralized it, we can also change the title. We can also change the title. Change the font. We can do that here. Change the font to title 1. So you have it right there. So what else do we want to do? Having done that, the next thing is we might want to add another label to the top. And the whole purpose of this label, which is going to be above the specific label we already have right now, is to it's essentially going to be to show the app's choice, right? To show what the app's choice is, what the app has chosen eventually. So I'm going to do that right now. Just a minute. Let me do that. Where is my label? So we have that. And let's make this 70. Let's make this 70. Done. Okay. So something around this is what you have. And then the next thing we want to do is literally go open the code now. Open the code. I think we can go through editor assistant. And what we want to do at this point, let me highlight this, zoom in, and move things around a little bit. Okay, I probably have to close this here so we can see what we're doing a little more. Zoom in. Okay. So what we want to do right now is to connect the interface with the back end. That's essentially what we want to do. And I am going to place, so our goal is to place the objects, outlets rather, the outlets here, and then we're going to place the actions here. So each of what we have there will require outlets. So we're going to begin with the label at the top, and drag, click, control, drag, right? Click, control, and then we drop here. Make sure this is U label, it's an outlet, and then we're going to name it app sign connect. So we have that. That's the first one there, right there. So we're going to go for the second one, label 2, control, drag, and then we're going to call this status label, connect. So we have two of them. The outlets, what else do we have? We also have to repeat the same thing for 3 of the buttons, and we would also do the same thing for the play again button. So click, control drag, and we're going to call this rock button. Right, rock button. What else do we have? So we're going to control drag. This would be the paper button. Connect. And then this will be control drag. This will be scissors button. Connect. Yeah. Let me arrange it so that everything is visible. And what else do we have going on? And we will be creating an outlet for play again. So control drag, play again button. So you see the gist, right? You're creating outlets for all of your UI components. And notice that I put them right under this class after the open braces. And then for the actions, I have to be able to notice we would have to be interacting with these buttons, and there are 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. We are going to create actions for each of them, which is what we are clicking here. So I'm going to start with the rock. Control. Oh, sorry about that. Control. Nope. Sorry, control drag. I'm clicking the wrong thing. Clicking the wrong thing. Control drag. Oh, what's going on? Should be using my cursor. Sorry. Yep, and we are gonna call this rock tapped. Connect. Rock tapped. Close this. and then the second will be control drag, and that will be paper tapped. So I'm literally gathering action for each of them. So the third will be, I have no idea what happened to my pad. It wouldn't allow me click before now. And then the final would be the play again button, control drag, which will be play again tapped. Boom. And that would be it. So what we've done right now is essentially created the user interface, and I started by, you know, by going to main, and from main we created the user components, the various user components, and then we connected the everything on the user interface to the assistant editor area, so they are all connected, and these circles you see is actually what shows the connection between all of these areas. So what we're going to be doing in the next video would be to literally create the controller component, which is the last part of the app development, and then tie in the model and the viewer, and boom, that's it. And at some point polish the app, and then we have our final result. So thank you again for watching. Any questions you can drop in the comment section, and hope to see you in the next video.